Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hello, I am doing. How are you tonight?
Ah, I'm doing well. I have a friend struggling with some things right now, so just pray for her and her family. And if you know anybody that's struggling with anything right now, please say a prayer for them. It's that time of year. Today is Father's Day, and we're going to talk about lessons from our father. But we know that there are many people whose fathers and father figures in their lives are no longer in this earthly plane with us. And today might not be as joyful. Hopefully, they are reflective and able to laugh and share some good stories and memories because as long as those memories endure, they endure here with us on this earth. So I want to say that all to the fathers and those who've lost their fathers and families out there. Happy Father's Day. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I agree. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, all the men who play the role of father. The those who are stepping in the gap for others. As I wrote on my page earlier, there are some that not only who fathers may not be in this physical realm, but also fathers. Maybe they don't have the best relationship with their fathers, or maybe they don't have the best relationship with their children, whatever the circumstance may be. you know um we find ways to celebrate, right?
Mhm.
Give yourself grace, find ways to celebrate. And I got that from Michael O'Brien, very much so, because he always sends those poignant messages at this time and on these days. So yes, happy Father's Day. And even if you don't have biological children, you never know whose life you are impacting by your presence. So just show up for them and yourself.
Absolutely. And we got a message here from Murray Dennis saying y'all have one of the best. We happen to agree with you on that, Miss Murray. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for saying that. We're going to talk about many of the lessons that we've received from our father over the course of the year and years.
And I'd venture to say John, Brian, and Meat had one of the best as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got some good laughs with Mr. John. Oh, over those years. So make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe. Tell folks about Hey Sister. If you don't catch it live, watch it on the replay or watch it go back and listen to some of our older episodes on the podcasting platforms. We'll be uploading those from this first half of the year because we're going to be getting ready to go on our summer break again. Uploading those and getting all that content there for you to share and follow. And be sure to join the conversation in the comments tonight. I know you all have some stories to tell, so we want you to tell those stories to us. But in typical Hey Sister fashion, we want to start off with a hot topic.
Okay.
So y'all know months ago when I was like, Mr. Cole, Mr. Cole, now we like Boosie. Boosie, Boosie, Boosie. Oh, Jesus. Boy, just stay out the news. Wait, what did my sister do? She done logged off the screen. So one Mr. Boosie, rap artist from the Baton Rouge area has been arrested on gun charges. I don't know what this phenomenon is right now of everyone wanting to flash guns on social media. But you need to know that the folks is gonna get you. They are going to catch you. They gonna get you, and it's just not worth it. And so while the state charges were dropped, federal charges, he was arrested coming out the courthouse to go before the state charges and then was arrested on the federal charges. And bam, just like that. And now I don't even have my sister here to talk about Boosie. So I guess we'll hold on a second before we come back to the hot topic. Sister, if you can your camera is not connected. I don't know what's going on. Let me know. Send me a text. Send me up a bat signal. I'm trying to look for it. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Anyway, so I'm gonna keep on pressing on and moving on and start talking about some of the lessons that I learned from our father. And so our father is a baby boomer. He's of a certain generation, but he has some certain characteristics, character traits, and things about him that most people know and recognize and will say your camera's still not on. But one of the things we learn from our father is to always be on time no matter where we go, no matter what the situation or circumstance is, he gonna beat the people there. He gonna be the first one at the door. And as I mature, we learned this lesson growing up, and so timeliness. People was like, "Oh yeah, Demetria is always going to be there." Like, "Oh, if I'm looking for her. Like when I arrive, they're looking for me because they know I'm going to be there." And this serves you
Oh,
so well. We hear you, sister. Can you hear
nope.
us? I hear you, but I hear you. I don't know what's happening, sister. Okay, but always be on time. So no matter what family function, what family event, what professional function or
Sister,
event,
nope, you can't hear me.
we can hear you. We heard you the whole time.
Gosh darn it.
Hello,
Yes,
hello,
we hear you.
hello. You can hear me? I
Yes.
can't hear you.
God, well, you gonna have to reboot or something. I don't know what's up.
Oh man.
Reboot, sister. Child, let me type her a note in the chat. Reboot. We hear you just fine. Or take them headphones off. Something. Can you hear us now? All right, we got a question,
Tell you,
comment
sister.
here. Yeah. Oh. Got a comment here from our cousin Sean Richardson. It says, "My father Isaac Richardson taught me to pay yourself first, aka save your money. Don't spend everything you make." We have a lesson around the money stuff as well, and I think this is such a poignant lesson. And it's going to be interesting, and I would love to hear how you're passing that lesson on to your children, especially with the advent we're a lot more cashless, meaning we don't actually have dollars in our pockets. Um, and how do you, as you're teaching kids who have excesses to tap to pay or with the tap with the debit card, how are you teaching them to save? How are you teaching them to monitor where their money is coming in and going out and all those things? So I would love to hear how you're passing that lesson on to your children, Mr. Sean Richardson. But in terms of timeliness, I would encourage you to it is
All right.
so disrespectful. We hear you, sister. We hear you. We hear you. Okay. She's having technical difficulties. All right. Anyway, I don't know what's going on. She's having a hard time. So, timeliness, as they say, is always a good thing. All right. Next thing. I want to tell y'all about the interstate highway system. So, before Google Maps, before MapQuest, there was a thing called the Rand McNally Road Atlas. And my father had subscriptions because we would get the Atlas every year. You back, sister?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm so sorry.
Now, our father has a thing about technology. But like I said, technology can always fail.
I tried, which I should have done this before we started the broadcast. I was trying to do the little let me stream to my platform kind of thing, and clearly it chose not to be. I'm sorry, sister. I mean, I feel like we got to start all over because I have to go back to Boosie. I guess to go
I
back
had to press on. I didn't know what was going to happen. All
No,
right. So
you
you
pressed
want to
on
go
it. I
back?
loved it. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
All
So let
right.
us start again. I'm going to be very quick. Okay.
Rewind.
Thank you all for chiming in. Fabulous. Hello, Boosie. Stop getting on Vlad TV. Let's just start there. They didn't already told y'all that Vlad is in people. Stop it. But no, seriously though, to your point, I did hear you say I don't know why people want to continue to get on social media with guns or what have you. At the end of the day, rappers really should be leading this conversation about rappers and basketball players clearly need to be leading this conversation about Second Amendment rights, because it seems that when you serve your time, if you're a tax-paying citizen, if you're a law-abiding citizen and you've served whatever time that you've had to serve, whether it be being kicked off of your team or going to actual jail, it seems like we have to find ways to restore what are quote-unquote inalienable rights, which I thought Second Amendment was supposed to be one of them, just like voting should be one of them. And it's just interesting to me that the folks who get in trouble for these things, why are y'all not leading the conversation on equity when it comes to gun laws and what have you? If you've paid your debt to society, should not those rights be restored? I think Boosie has a very big platform and he uses it for all the foolery. Here's an opportunity for you to use it for something that might be helpful to society. Let's have a conversation about why, because you had a gun on your hip. Now, he was in California, I guess, at the time. Clearly, if you had been in Florida, Boosie, it should have been okay, because clearly they don't care who got a gun in Florida. But why y'all not leading that conversation? Jay Morant, hello, Jay, whatever, Ja Morant. You just said yours was a candle. Now y'all they done put up the thing showing that his when he was supposedly flashing the gun, that's to light candles. Now they got a whole new sitch. Y'all thought that was a real firearm. He just lighting candles out here.
While children are getting killed for having toy firearms. All I'm going to say is this obsession with guns and gun culture is a whole nother thing. And I get it. People need to protect. But the truth is, most of you are not protecting yourselves. Actually, it's more likely that someone in your family and someone who you love is going to take possession of said gun and actually harm themselves. So I don't know why we have this obsession, fascination with destroying human life, but it's something that we have, and we destroy it not only with firearms, but with our words and in the language and the things that we speak. So, child, we need to, honey, I'm about saving today. It's Father's Day. We about saving lives, not destroying lives. How about that?
Yes. Amen.
Okay. You want to rewind on this lesson?
Okay,
Always
yes,
be on
always
time.
be on time.
Boom. Okay, go system.
Yeah, that is a lesson my father does teach.
By example. So that's
by
the other
example, thing. Yes, I have yet to pick that one up though. And I'm not like way late.
You haven't? That's one of my standards.
Yeah, I know. I try really hard. I'm not, like I said, I'm not way late. I'm not the person who says, I'm down the street and they really still at their house. I'm not that person. But, sometimes I'm a few minutes late. And Clearly, this program, as an example, I should have clicked that button earlier and went through all those technical challenges. So as a result, I wasn't on time. So, but he definitely has taught us that. Okay, we can go on to the next lesson.
On interstate. All right. So where I was saying before there was Google Maps, before there was a MapQuest or any other thing, there was a Rand McNally Atlas. And we used to have that Rand McNally Atlas, get subscription to them, have we also used to have maps that were kept in the vehicle. And honey, I learned how to read a map. And so basic things that really there were people who, as I was growing and maturing, there were people who were way older than me who didn't know some basic things like for the interstate highway system, if it's an even number, it's east-west thoroughfare. If it's an odd number, it's a north-south thoroughfare. If it has a 3-digit number, it signifies it's a loop. And that's with the interstate system. It kind of works that way in most states as well. But sometimes states do some weird stuff and they veer their stuff is veered off a little bit. But learning about how to the mile markers, the indication that the mile markers tells you how far you are away from said state line. And if you're going in a certain direction, it's telling you how close you're getting to that state line or how far away you are from said line, depending on what direction you're going in, knowing that those mile markers often correspond. Now they've gotten off a little bit, but mostly they correspond with the exits as well.
Yes,
so how far they should correspond with the exits as well. Like these are things our dad taught us as really young kids, as we were in the riding in the car and listening and reading the map. Read the legend on the map. It'll tell you how to measure the distance between this city and that city. So there's so many lessons around just basics when it comes to the interstate, the highway, and what to do and what not to do, that I think are timeless. And to know that there were so many people who were way older than me who didn't even know that, I was shocked and surprised. I don't know about you. What did you learn about the interstate?
Yeah, all the things that you noted. And it's funny because like when I'm on social media, people will have these comments like, we really was printing off directions from MapQuest. And I'm like, that was advanced technology. Talking about printing out. No, we really were pulling out maps. And I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles, there was I can't remember the name of it, but it's like this thick, and it's like all of the streets in Los Angeles, all of the entire city broken out in these various maps. Now, I'm gonna say I never got really great at doing, using that one. But to your point about the atlas, yeah, if my dad didn't already know how the street went from experience, then, and for the years that he was coaching and traveling, then when we did pull out the map, we could actually help navigate and say, okay, you got to do this and go here, what have you. I remember one time when I first was traveling to Jackson, Mississippi for a job interview, before I moved there, and we needed directions because my dad wasn't going with me, and he literally like wrote it out but drew it out as well, and it was like to a T. So yes, all the things that you mentioned about learning about the interstate, I personally think we should all still, like, I've been thinking about, like, I gotta get
these life skills, and
yeah, but I need to get another atlas to put in my car, because you just don't never know, like with all the stuff that's going on.
I can give you a prime example of that. Now, this has been some years ago because my son is,
I'm sorry. It was called the Thomas Guide in Los Angeles. That's what it was. The Thomas Guide. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was driving home once with my son. He was an infant in the back seat in the child seat, and I had one of those, remember the Garmin and the TomTom, the actual
Mhm.
GPSs you had? Well, guess what? That thing went out. And as we were driving, there was the traffic was at a complete halt standstill coming into Louisiana, like on I-10. And I was like, we can't just sit there because I have a baby. Like, I just can't sit out here. I got to figure this out. So I pulled off somewhere outside of Lake Charles, some random little road. And I was like, okay, I know if I take this, they had a detour to go off. So I was like, but I stopped at a like really backwoods gas station, and I bought one of those fold out Louisiana maps, and I was able to navigate to get myself back through the town, and far enough ahead of the interstate traffic to navigate to get back on, pick it up later. But at least I knew, okay, if I get to highway, I knew that, okay, I-10, Highway 90 run parallel. Highway 90 will get me home if I get on
Mhm.
Highway 90. I knew that much enough, and that's what I was able to do. And so that's a big lesson. And I think all of those skills, like timeliness, like the interstate, knowing how to navigate, knowing north, south, east, and west, all of those things are going to come in handy because, as you said, as you were just getting on, technology fails us.
Mhm.
A GPS signal can go down. A satellite can go down.
You reminded me, and that's when I was in graduate school. We
Mhm.
had to evacuate for one of the hurricanes. Now, ultimately, it did not make landfall, and it ended up being fine, right? But I want to say this was the year before Katrina, so
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly what. I feel like it started with an I as well. One of those. Um,
I think
Ike
Irene.
Isaacs,
I
something I don't
okay,
know,
it's something.
but we had to. We drove from New Orleans to Houston. Okay, so typically that's about a 6 hour drive. It ultimately took us 16 hours to get there. But in the process, which hindsight being 2020, I should have just stayed myself at home. But my father helped us navigate all through some ways that I had never ever had been before to get to the house. And then we still went on. Like I said, I probably should have just stayed and told my friend and her family, I'll see y'all back in New Orleans when y'all come back. But I was going to a conference, and I thought that conference was going to help me get a job. So it was the Black MBA conference. I thought I was going to get a job, but I didn't. But anyway, and so I just remember he helped us navigate to a T, getting out of that traffic. And to your point, if you're stuck on a road during a hurricane, everybody's on their cell phone.
Mhm.
And so it becomes very difficult to use GPS. It's very challenging. So you reminded me of that. Thank you.
Yes. Well,
Another
hopefully
great
that was
lesson from the
but
interstate.
the bottom line is those skills come in handy. And if for all of y'all doomsday and zombie watchers, y'all know there ain't gonna be no GPS. Y'all gonna need to know how to get around. So to know how to get around. Ooh, child. Now, our cousin Sean Richardson had a comment about his daddy teaching him how to save money. Well, one thing we learned from our daddy, he done always had good credit and ain't need no credit repair or none of that. Why? Because he pay his bills on time. And I learned how to pay my bills on time. Now balancing that checkbook got less and less. Obviously, well, some of y'all might not know this. I worked at the bank. I was a bank teller, so I knew how to do that and all those functions that go along with balancing. But as we got more and more electronically inclined, I stopped balancing as much the actual paper. um, but one of the things I can say is that I've always had a solid credit score because whether I was paying the minimum, the maximum, paying it all off at one time or a little bit at a time, I always paid them on time. And I've actually gotten into more trouble as of late, not setting things and for how you set it and forget it.
Mhm.
Because when you buy a house and then they sell your mortgage and then you got a new mortgage provider and you got to go set all that up. It's this child, they be getting on my nerves with all that. But
They do.
we pay our bills on time. I don't know about you. What money lessons did you learn about paying bills or balancing the checkbook and money lessons that you learned?
Well, to Sean's point, yes. We so saving money, yes. I've over the years, I like to transition that saving into more of investing money.
Hmm.
But definitely, I think it starts with paying your bills on time. It starts with knowing exactly what you have coming in and knowing exactly what you have going out, so that you know how much you actually have to pay yourself. Um, I think so. One of the lessons I've learned over the years, obviously, is not having money. My dad and I have a different definition of I ain't got no money. That's what I
And your
have.
mama
My
too.
mother too. Yes. Because when they say they don't got no money, that means I ain't gonna tell y'all what
I ain't
that
gonna
means
tell y'all
yet.
what that means because I ain't gonna have y'all trying to go mess with my mama and daddy. But honey, when I say I ain't got no money, I mean it's like $10 left in the account.
Right, right. And
$20.
they have just a whole different definition. But what I have also um recognized though is the value of, like you said, paying your bills on time, but also anticipating things, right?
Hmm.
Because that saving for a rainy day, things can happen, and you want to be, obviously we've had the whole cushion conversation as
Yes.
of late. My daddy gonna have a cushion, right? So those
It
are,
ain't gonna be this kind of cushion. It's gonna be this kind of cushion.
yes, yeah. Again, cushion definitions. We got different definitions of a cushion. We got different definitions of I ain't got no money.
But
Uh,
you know what's funny? I have a friend, we were talking about this, and she actually was telling my daughter, so her threshold is $10,000. She was like, if she has anything less than $10,000 in her checking account, she don't have any money.
Correct. That is not my
And
threshold.
I was like, 10, that's kind of high, but I get it. I admire it. But she was like, that's where she got to, that's the threshold. If anything less than that, she doesn't have any money. So if she got $10,001, she got $1. So that means I'm not going out. I'm not gonna go eat. I'm gonna not do whatever. That's it. Like that's her minimum threshold. And I was like, girl, that's admirable.
Well, that's fair, right? Because I mean, you can make your zero anything, right? So,
When I say I ain't got no money, that means I ain't got no money
right.
for you.
She another one. I already know how she roll. She be talking about I ain't got no money and got sitting on stacks. I ain't about to get nobody in trouble.
Well, no,
No,
don't tell the girl business. Well, nobody keep Keon over the head now,
no,
girl.
no, no. No, I ain't trying to tell nobody business, but she right. That's exactly what y'all parents mean. Y'all don't got no money. I guess I just have to. But again, to your friend's point, I think we all can decide where our zero is. It
Yes,
don't actually have to
have to
be
be
zero,
zero.
which
Right.
is usually my zero. But maybe I need to make my zero a new number. Maybe I don't know if it's gonna be 10,000 still.
Yeah, I think a new zero is a good thing because as they said, most Americans don't even have $400 for like a 400 enough
I
for
thought it
like
was $1,000 most.
a thousand. Girl, Google it real fast.
I'm not touching nothing else on
Okay,
this.
well, let me see. I'm gonna touch it. Let me see. Average U.S. household savings. Let's see. Let's do a quick search.
But it's
Um,
different for different groups of people.
yeah, they're giving me a rate. What is the average savings balance for Americans? Let's see what it says. It says the average American household had transaction accounts. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that still ain't
See,
telling me.
that's
That's
why
a
I wasn't
whole
trying to
nother.
Google. Whole nother topic.
It's a whole nother.
Don't worry about it. Pay your bills on time. Invest in yourself. Which to Sean's point about pay yourself first, that's investing in yourself. And also over the years, I've learned to, you know, grow. I can now have some conversations about financial things that I've learned over the years with my dad and say, oh, well, what about this? And he'll say, I didn't hear about that. I don't know about that. And so we can have those conversations now because I ain't in his pocket 24/7.
Right. I got you. Well, there's a whole article about this. This will go into stuff I don't even want to know about. Okay, child. Bottom line, set your zero. I think that's a key takeaway. Set your zero, pay your bills on time, and you'll never be in debt. And pay yourself first, and you'll never be in debt to nobody else. How about that? Commitments. Commitments matter. When you say you're gonna do something, do it. Follow through. And that is a big lesson that I've learned. Even when you don't want to, even when you frustrated, even when you tired, if you make a commitment, unless you renegotiate that commitment, you should stick with it. And I do believe that people can renegotiate commitments. I think, we get new information, and so that might adjust the decision or the commitment that we made. So I think we have that opportunity. But our father definitely is a man that lives up to his commitments. And if he says he's going to do something, if he says he's going to be somewhere, he's going to be there. He's going to be there on time. If he says he can do something for you, he is going to follow through with everything he has. And again, these are not just lessons of things that he said. And I want to be very clear about that. Our cousin Marvis in Sunday school always talks about being the sermon, right? And living the sermon, and not just preaching or teaching a sermon, but, tell me by your actions, not by your words, kind of thing. And these are all lessons that we just, from observation. Most of these are lessons from observation over time. And there were times when I'm like, you ain't got to do that for that person. Why are you doing that? Yeah, just because, no. But nope, I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it. And that's how that is the example and how he lives his life. So I don't know about you, sister, but in terms of commitments, what key takeaways have you learned from observing our father over these years?
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, when one time I had a conversation with my dad. Now, obviously, everybody knows I'm not married, right? But I had a conversation with my dad about marriage, and I said, because if I listen to some people, my sister being one of the people, it's like, how do you know? How do you know when you're ready to marry somebody? Blah blah blah. And it's like, you just know. I've heard you just know, and I'm sure many of us have heard that you just know. And while to some degree that might be true for some people, I would have to say that those people have to know a lot about themselves in order to just know if that person is right for them. But more often than not, a lot of us don't.
Self-awareness is a powerful thing.
It's self-awareness and introspection. But a lot of people don't know, especially when you peel back the layers and you're like, folks who get married really young and things like that. So a lot of things you haven't learned about yourself or each other. But one of the things that he said was, I don't know that you just know. I know that you make a commitment and you stick to it. Mm-hmm. And I know that may not sound as romantic as you just know. But I do think it speaks volumes about wanting to that commitments matter. And when you say you're going to do something, do it. Now, let me be clear. That does not mean allow yourself to be used, abused, hurt, taken advantage of, treated poorly in a relationship. I am not saying that. But I do think that there is something more to when you decide to have a lifelong commitment, because depending on how you live, life is a long time, and especially when you
on what day you said, let's see.
Right. And I mean, I think about you're about to celebrate next year 25 years, and you got married like at 26 years old. 26 is still young. I'm thinking about when I was 26. I mean, albeit now being the age I am, I'm like, as we started the broadcast, like, man, maybe I should have started this stuff much earlier in life. But I'm just saying, it does, commitments matter. And there is something to saying that, you know, yes, you love your spouse. Yes, you want to be, and I don't think anybody really goes in it like, yep, I want this to fail. But there is something to be said about making a commitment and sticking to it. And again, that does not negate, I'm not saying stay in something that's unhealthy for you. Because
Yeah,
then
and
that's
that's why I
also a
say you
commitment
have
to
to
yourself.
you have to renegotiate commitments, right? Because if
Yes.
something is harmful and toxic, then it's not a it probably was a bad commitment, right? So you
Mhm.
probably shouldn't have made that commitment in the first place, right?
But then you can make a new commitment. Like you said, you can
Absolutely.
renegotiate. And part of that renegotiation may be with yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the overall point though is if you decide, see it through.
Mm.
If you decide, see it through. And I think all too often we don't see enough things like through. We give up before the breakthrough, right? And so if you make a commitment, see that commitment through. You are tuned in to Hey Sister. We are live right now. We had a few little hiccups along the way as we started out, technical difficulties. But child, we still here. We rewind and remixed it. We covered all the topics we want to cover, and we still going. The next lesson from our father. If you all have some lessons for your father, please drop them down in the comments. We want to hear them and we want to bring them into the conversation. So join the conversation in the comments.
Yes.
Another a lesson that we learned from our father, I would say is boom. Everything in moderation. Come on, sis. I'm gonna let you kick this one off.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it is exactly that. My father, so my father has a sweet tooth, for example, and I get that honestly. And so every time we're probably like, you know, we don't need to eat all these sweets, so we don't need to consume all of this junk food. He's like, everything in moderation. And that's been a key lesson that he's taught us over the years. And it's obviously not just about food, but food has been one that we used it to talk about, because very often, right, when you think about how people approach things, and I talked about this in Sunday school a few weeks ago, you know, whether it's salvation Christianity or it's dieting, it's like, I'm all in, I'm jumping in head first, like I'm going to go to every prayer meeting, I'm going to, you know, go Wednesday, Sunday, Saturday night, I'm going to mission, like you jumping, or I'm gonna go on a diet and I'm gonna exercise 5 days out of 7. I'm gonna drink at least a gallon of water every day, and we jump in to these things, and we put ourselves in a position that makes it seemingly unsustainable. Correct. So it's like, you know, if you want a piece of cake, you can have a piece of cake. Don't have a whole cake, especially not in one sitting, you know. Or if you want some ice cream, or if you want to, you know, if you're exercising, like you don't have to jump on, you don't have to go running on the treadmill. Like, just have you been walking? Start by walking. You know, so everything in moderation has always been something that he's taught us. And that even goes back to the money lessons, right? It's okay to every now and again splurge on yourself, right? Or you know, you want to take a big trip, you want to buy that expensive
treat yourself.
Treat yourself sometimes, but it's not moderation if every time you see something you buy it. You know, it's not moderation is if everything you eat, everything you see you eat, you know. So yeah, just everything in moderation. And look, it's worked for him because he also balances that with other discipline and rituals, and we'll talk about that in a
Hmm.
second.
Yeah, and I know some people don't, necessarily like this, or this whole thing about doing things in moderation. There's somewhere about it's. I got to look up where it is in the scripturally somewhere. Somewhere they say something about moderation, but I'll just say that this applies to relationships with other human beings. It applies to alcohol consumption. It applies to being stressed out about your job.
You ain't gotta put me out there though.
Listen, hit dogs a holler. I say
Mm,
I ain't say nothing.
I'm
Eh, You
playing.
know, if you like, I'm not going to let anything take me this far.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm not gonna let a person take me that far. I'm not gonna let no drugs or alcohol take me. I'm not gonna let food take me that far. I'm not gonna let this job take me that far, because at the end of the day, for my own sanity, moderation matters. And that's how I have taken to apply it to greater more things
Mhm.
in life. Now, um most of the times when we've had those conversations, it was around that ice cream and those cookies and the cakes and the sweet potato pies, right?
Right.
Uh, but I've taken it and applied it to other things as well. Because the truth is, as we learn in our study with Dr. Alana and the trauma cure, is you can become addicted to anything.
Mhm.
And so, with this social media, if we were teaching this lesson to our kids about everything in moderation with social media, what a difference it could possibly be. If we were teaching them moderation in their interactions, like I said, with other people, because everybody is so in love and then so out of love. It's like everything is extreme in the politics, like in the in any consumption. Like, if we just would take it down a notch and be more moderate and not allow everything to become all consuming, I think we would be healthier, happier, and more whole. That's my take.
You bring up a very good point there. You just had me think about two things. Number one was listening to NPR yesterday. They were talking about creating zones like in your house where this is the only place where you can have a device. You can't have a device in the car. You can't have a device. And then they were going on camping trips every week or so they could completely disconnect. But helping to reprogram their children who have become basically it's about the dopamine response, and they literally would talk about this, and I was thinking of Dr. Lana the whole time, the dopamine response to the devices. And so creating these zones in the house where you can't have devices, and so and creating these new practices because you can learn new things. But then also talking about that moderation, you just made me think about how big our responses are to things, which is how uh, people end up getting shot because they turn in the wrong driveway. Like, how is that? Like, how does that become an offense for which someone loses their life, or being pulled over? How does that become a death sentence? It's like, what can we all just saw something on social media. Uh, the neighbor, there was a sister. She had a wig in her back seat. So apparently, she had the trunk of the car.
Hmm.
It was SUV, and the wig was coming out the bottom. So obviously, somebody knows. He called the police on her because it was a kidnapping,
Hmm.
suspected of kidnapping. So the officers came to her house. Now, if they had been on high alert and had this huge reaction, this whole situation could have gone terribly bad.
Hmm.
Um, But they didn't. They were calm. They had an interaction. She was like, "Oh my God, my wigs!" And of course, they were laughing about it,
Mhm.
and so it turned
Mhm.
out to be fine. But so many of the responses we see people having these days are just
Extreme.
very extreme. So, great point about moderation. Thank you.
All right. I try, girl. Every now and then I try. All right. This is another one you said. The go big or go home. And you know what? I think Donald Trump is testing him out on this one, right?
Oh, Donald said, "What you not gonna do is ever say he didn't go big. He's gonna go big leap."
Bigly, bigger, biggest
and most
in
big up.
all the crimes.
Yeah, so one of the things that I always so first of all, it kind of is twofold. So one, my father's always like, never get in the system. Like, never become a part of the system. And by the system, we're saying
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice, right? Don't get arrested for anything. He's also like, for the longest, I didn't think he ever had a ticket, because he just is not about that life. He's like, that's where it starts. Don't get tickets. So so I have to say, for the most
Tickets
part,
are the gateway drug.
tickets are the gateway drug. So for the most part, I have done pretty well, knock on some wood or whatever, done pretty well in that regard. But then the other part, the offshoot of that, was always, if you're gonna rob somebody, if you're gonna steal, you might as well. Back then, this is how I show you the time. Back then, it was, if you're gonna steal, you might as well steal $1 million, because you're gonna get the same jail time. Now, $1 million ain't even, these folks ain't even, $1 million is play money for them. They bigly steal it. So
That part.
but I mean, and some other examples, even like my girl, Martha Stewart. I mean, she talked about bounce back. Martha said, "I got the insider trading. I know she still got some money." She went to jail, did her time, came on out on the cover of Sports Illustrated, or in Sports Illustrated magazine.
And this is like 20 years later, of course. But,
It's 20 years later. But
at 81 on the cover of Sports Illustrated, girl, you better do that thing.
It was about, she went big. She didn't settle for it. I'm sure that insider trading.
She was like, all these men out here doing this, but y'all gonna say me? Oh, okay. I'm gonna go do this bid.
Right.
Had all the women up in there sewing and cooking good food up in the joint. Martha turned it out, came out, was friends with Snoop Dogg, did a whole set of shows and cooking. Listen,
she got products, she's rebranding stuff. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm sure that insider trading money paid off, because I don't think they take it from you. So
I think they do freeze assets.
And freeze, but I mean, they might have froze them, but did they unfreeze them?
Did they thaw them out? I don't know if they thawed out the assets or not, but child.
All I'm saying, go big or go home. If you're going to commit a crime, it's particularly when it comes to stealing, don't steal $10, $15, $20, $200. Go for the white collar crimes, because you're going to have a better chance of getting out later in life and rebranding yourself as a whole nother person.
But folks are out here right now, and we talked about this a little bit. So with these stealing catalytic converters, or these retail crimes, and reselling this stuff. So be careful of that stuff y'all see on Amazon, from some of these Amazon resellers, from some of these Facebook marketplaces, from Craigslist, dark web, any of the things. Be careful, because a lot of these retail crimes, where these people are doing these retail crimes, and catalytic converters, these are a part of national and international organized crime rings.
Yeah.
Trust and believe, because Lil Pookie on this didn't know nothing about no rhodium in no catalytic converter and what you could do with rhodium. I promise you.
Well, again, I'm being a little, tongue in cheek all of this, and because I guess we have to explain this, because you never know who will.
We gotta explain it now.
But the point he was trying to make to me growing up and I don't know if he told you the same thing, was like, again, don't get in the system. And you definitely ain't trying to get in the system behind some little silly petty crimes
That's right.
that you're gonna get the same amount of jail time as if you had at least done something that was massive. Like, and again, using the stealing part, because we see so many people getting caught up in the system over stuff, and you're like, seriously? Like, again, going back to the top, Boosie Badass, that's how you gonna get back into the jailhouse? Because you got a gun on your hip? Come on, bro. We got to be smarter than that.
Stop it. Oh, anyway, we got a lesson here in the comments from I love this. She said her daddy told her, "Don't ever think because I'm a woman I have a right to hit a man. Keep my hands to myself. Keep your hands to yourself." Because a lot of people, we had to ask our children today. We were like, we Gen X, so the Gen X's, we the FAFO generation. Do they know what FAFO mean? They didn't know what it meant. We were like, okay, F around and find out. We that generation. And yes, you are not immune. If you're going to put your hands on somebody, how you think they not going to put their hands back on you?
Correct.
So, and folks out here have it twisted because everybody wasn't raised the same about, oh, well, you don't hit a woman. I don't believe anybody should be hitting anybody. Because you never know, that boy may not have gotten that lesson from his daddy or his mama about not hitting a woman, and will let you out.
And again, if I'm gonna be honest, and again, this is probably gonna come back to haunt me in life sometime. But if I'm gonna be honest, whether he got that lesson or not, to Kiana's point, everybody need to keep their hands to themselves, because the minute, it's a natural reaction. Like we were talking about when we were in South Africa. Our cousin had the monkeys all on her. One of the monkeys is pickpocket. The monkey goes in this pocket, right? Like literally, we see this dramatized in the movie about Malcolm X, where somebody goes in your pocket. Your natural reaction is like, get your hand out of my pocket. So I'm like, this little monkey going in my pocket. How did she restrain herself? And so when we start talking about people being physically assaulted, and somebody is pummeling you, the natural reaction is to defend yourself, to fight back, fight, flight, or flee. And so it's like everybody needs to keep their hand. And I get it, as somebody who is still working through all of her emotional junk, I get that sometimes you want to blister somebody's eye because you feel like, or hit them right there in the what did
throat balls.
The throat balls. Yes, the apple is the throat balls. Sometimes you just want to do that. But we all have to learn how to
FAFO.
Well, we all have to, again, refrain.
So keep your hands to yourself.
Keep your hands to yourself, because whether or not a person has been taught they should not hit a woman, natural reactions are natural reactions. And after a while, I mean, listen, God bless all of our ancestors who sat through being spat on, because what, if y'all know nothing about me, I do not play about
bodily fluids.
And so for those who have been spat on, burnt with cigarettes, physically hit, dogs put on them. Listen, how more of us didn't, how they exercise that level of constraint and restraint, I have no idea. Because it's a natural reaction.
Yeah. Oh, look at me. Got that eye all capitalized. Hold on. Let me fix that. Now, this is another lesson.
That was a good one, Kiana.
That was a great one. No simple solutions. Our father always told us no simple solutions to complex problems. And that applies in every aspect of life. And oftentimes we trying to have quick fixes, simple solutions, get it over with, or what have you. But there's always unintended consequences. So if we if we start and understand that something is complex and that we need to kind of peel back the complexities to get to the root and the foundation before we start just throwing solutions at stuff, we might actually solve something. Because we actually out here not solving anything. Because we just band-aiding. Simple. Okay, this is, oh, but now this is bleeding. So let's put something here. Oh, this is bleeding now. No, there's no simple solution to complex problems. Life is complex, and we need to deal and understand the complexity so that we can actually have more robust and well-rounded solutions. That's
Yeah.
my soapbox on that one.
No, I agree. And look, I made some jokes at the top about the about gun control and things like that. But the truth of the matter is topics like gun control, topics like Roe v. Wade and abortion rights, topics like the separation of church and state, topics like homelessness and inflation. These topics these are complex problems. Climate change and hell, artificial intelligence and these, Elon Musk, who is a mad genius, but is just got,
mad is the operative word.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm that's exactly why I'm saying it. What is it? Neuralink, is it that he got FDA approval for? And so chips in your brains, and again, if it's used for the right reasons, it can have wonderful outcomes. But if it's used for nefarious reasons, it can be a terrible, terrible thing for our society. And so again, but to your point, people don't want to actually peel back the layers and get to the root cause. We talk about, we're going to sign legislation, Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, we're going to sign legislation and get rid of all of DEI. Gonna get rid of all of it. There's no purpose for it. We don't need diversity, equity. There are actual business cases that show that greater diversity, equity, inclusion, sense of belonging actually has better financial outcomes for businesses. And since we live in this capitalistic society where everybody just want to keep making more money, there is value, like tangible monetary value, to DEIB. But they are just like, I don't want y'all to say nothing that got to do with blacks, with the gays, so cut it all out. And it's like, wow, that's quite reactionary, first of all. But that is an oversimplified response to a much bigger issue. And so if I just feel like half of the time, if we just started there are no simple solutions to complex problems, we might actually start figuring out some solutions to the complex problems.
Absolutely. Well, we dropped an article in the comments about this Neuralink. This is something you definitely should read more about it and start becoming aware of what's out there and what is on the horizon and will be tested. Because again, things that we think they have great possibility. Listen, John Connor, y'all remember Terminator? Like, be careful about these machines. We got a few more lessons that we learned from our father, and this one, discipline and cut your grass, can go hand in hand with each other. Our father has been a very disciplined person. That, some of us, we floss regular, but we not regular on the flossing. That dude is a flosser, okay? Cleve is a flosser. Like, just simple things like that. Like, that put everything back. Everything has a place. Put it back in its place. And, and he's going to get out there. He's going to cut his grass. He's going to edge it up. He's going to, I remember when he had to rake, but now, modern technique, he got a little blower now, but he used to rake it up. He is going to those things, and they are on a schedule. Like, he is so disciplined and does things on a schedule. So it is like clockwork, and you know when he's gonna do it. And he works out, he goes to the gym, he knows his days he's going to the gym, and those are the days he goes to the gym. So there's a consistency and a discipline in his behaviors. And if you coming, you coming. If you ain't coming, he ain't gonna stop him. Now for us, if I be like, well, sister, you gonna go to the gym? If she be like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna go. Listen, then we both ain't going. That's how that's gonna work out. With Cleve, he gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna see y'all later, and he's still going. He don't need us to come along for the ride. He don't need us to be reminded about flossing his teeth, putting on cologne, getting his hair cut. He go to the barber shop. He had appointments at the barbershop before the appointments was even set, okay? He been having appointments at the barbershop for at least 40 years. Every Monday. On a Monday. Not every Monday, but it's on a Monday. Okay? He up in Gerald on a Monday. Getting that haircut.
Don't be telling nobody about that.
And then when the lady there with the sweet potato pies, he buying 2 sweet potato pies or 3 and bring them home. I'm just saying.
And it's not the same lady anymore. The recipe has changed. But
I think the little lady that used to bring them past.
I think so. So. But yes, voracious reader. There's never a time when my father is not reading a book and really is not into the audio books and not going to be on a Kindle, because we've tried all of that. Not happening. So hardcover, actual books.
Newspaper daily.
Newspaper. He's on top of the Journal of Higher Learning or
Chronicles and Higher Education.
Yeah. That thing, Sunday school lessons. So he is a voracious reader, definitely very disciplined when it comes to his exercising. When we were younger, it was every day. Now that we're older, it's 3 times a week, but he has a set schedule, like he said. And if he doesn't go, he must be sick. Mm-hmm. Like he really mustn't be feeling terrible, because it's not ever I just don't feel like it today. Mm-hmm. And then, to your point about the flossing, let me tell you something. I'll be trying to remember to do that every night. And he don't even have the little picks. This brother's still pulling the string and putting it around his, getting it done. It's a beautiful thing. I just see you sitting up there like, and ironing his clothes. Let me tell you what's not gonna happen. Now, Demetria don't iron no clothes. Christina does iron clothes. Now, of course,
I do iron clothes.
When this started? When is Jeff? When did this start?
I iron clothes when I feel like it. I ironed my shirt the other day.
Okay. All right. Anyway, Cleveland is gonna iron. Praise God, we finally got a big ironing board, because
honey, he had that magic sizing down before people even was using magic sizing, and always had a crease. Okay.
Yes. So, and I mean, he also, brought stuff to the cleaners all the time. But yeah, shirts, everything. We always ironed every morning. Every night. And then he had his stuff laid out. That's another habit that I just hadn't picked up yet. Still trying. Like, if I have somewhere to go, like I have somewhere to go tomorrow, I know I have to go somewhere. I know I have a certain outfit I gotta pull out. Right. But especially in this work from home environment, listen, you be lucky if I get beyond night clothes or the workout clothes. But yeah,
it's waist up.
Yeah. And man, I don't even put on my camera for 90% of the meetings I'm on. So yeah, but my dad has always had that great discipline about ironing his clothes at night, flossing at night, putting his clothes out for the next day, exercising every morning, like I said, and reading.
Make his coffee. Now he even set the coffee to timer, so when he leave and go to the gym and come back, the coffee's already there. He gonna drink his coffee. He gonna read that newspaper. And listen, there's so many disciplines that he's disciplined about, so many things in so many areas of his life that, I don't know what happened to us, sister. I don't know. Look, Lois is laughing.
I don't know what happened to us either.
God, what happened to was, because we had a really good example of discipline. We might need to revisit what happened to us.
And they both are really good about, if they're on the bike, for example, they'll fold clothes while they're on the bike. You
Yeah.
don't do none of that. You so lazy.
Listen, if they I wash them all. I will make sure that all the clothes are clean. I figure if I make sure they all clean, somebody else can have the decency to fold them. Okay.
Well, I don't even do that at this point. So I'm not even gonna pretend at this point. But somebody who shall remain nameless seems to act like I don't know how to wash clothes or something. But I guess he also thinks I don't know how to cook, and I'm okay with it.
Well, I'm the only one that's cooking in here.
Yeah,
I
like it.
For the most part. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, all right. Well,
cutting the grass, we had to say that about the cutting the grass because you didn't say what you wanted to say, but there was a lesson about that too. So we talked about cutting the grass.
So there's this saying that people say that, if you think the grass is greener on the other side, you need to water your grass. And so that's how the little saying goes. And
I don't know that one. I thought
you never heard that.
No, I've heard people say that, but it stemmed from people saying the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And then people would say, well, probably because they water and fertilize their grass.
Well, yeah, you need to water your own grass. So if you look in and thinking the grass is greener, you need to water your own grass. And so he takes care of things. Cleve takes care of things at home. The grass now. His definition of grass and our definition of grass is a little different because my daddy says as long as it's green, it's grass. And he gonna cut it. And I be like, man, stop it. But anyway, it's really about the discipline of taking care of what's yours. Yeah. So he gonna wash a car. He gonna armor all them tires. And he gonna make sure the maintenance done. And it's about taking care of what's yours. Jeffrey, stop the lies.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Since when? Because it ain't been since when.
I do iron when I feel like it. When I want to.
So which is never.
That is not true. Not true. I used to make sure my cheering clothes was together.
Hey,
stop
it. The man spoke.
I'm gonna let him have it. Happy Father's Day, Jeffrey. Yeah, but why would I need to iron when I got him to iron? How about that?
Oh my goodness, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, don't start none, won't be none up in here. Okay.
All I said was our daddy did it. We did not pick up that habit. I do iron when I actually am wearing stuff. My sister and her husband has confirmed my thoughts. That's all I'm saying. But yes, take care of things, clean your gutters, because according to my dad, the gutters be weighing down the house. Because you don't know, they got a pine tree out there in the tree.
Now, I will say the last time I was home, the pine branch is a big branch on the pine trees is actually falling down. And you got all them little that's going to be done, all the little cypress needles. But I think that if the water is still coming through the gutters, that means it still has a path through.
He said it didn't.
Listen, and so when these gutters gonna get clean, Jeffrey? Let me ask you that. How about that? When you gonna get up there and clean them gutters, boy? Anyway, I think our last point that we wanted to share.
Thank you. As my mama used to say, get the cat faces out of it.
All I'm going to say is, if you Google Merriam-Webster dictionary, that is exactly what the definition is. How about that? Stop it. Anyway, Our last lesson from our father. We hope you all have enjoyed these lessons. We talked about discipline. We talked about learning things of all manner of the road and the interstate. We ain't talked to y'all about the cooking breakfast for us, but that's another thing. But he did teach us that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And hey, we had breakfast every day, and we did keep that habit of eating breakfast every day. Now, why we ain't keep the habit of exercising every day, I don't know about that. But we did keep the habit of a good breakfast.
Yes.
But he taught us so many lessons along the way, and paying our bills on time, being mindful and conscientious, doing things in moderation. But this is a lesson that you wanted to share and talk about. I'm gonna toss it to you to kind of talk about it first, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay, well, just as a wrap up, recently we were having a conversation, um, and I was asking my parent, I was saying that they didn't seem happy about this recent decision that they made, and they just didn't seem happy about it. And my dad is like, my definition of happiness is not you want happiness to look like how you want it to look. That's not my definition of happiness. I am happy when I am with my family and when I have my children around me. And so for us, it's like you're not gonna see my dad, as he says, get overly excited about anything, whether it's a big purchase or a big trip or something like that. He's not going to get overly excited, but according to him, he's very happy, and he's happiest when he has his family together, and he gets to spend time with his family, which is probably why for a very long time vacations were just family reunions, and that's all we really did as vacations, because we had limited opportunities. But he's very committed to family reunions, no matter how many of them he has to host. So so yes, I think happiness is at home, and at home is whenever you're surrounded by your family and loved ones.
Yes. And so I would agree that this is, as we mature, as we say that we have more years behind us than we have ahead of us, I think we realize and value the importance of this lesson even more. We our parents, when we reflect back, were young, very much so, when they lost their parents, when both of
Mhm.
when their parents transitioned from this earthly plane. And so we've had our parents longer than they had their parents.
Mhm.
And I think that is a beautiful thing. And it is a reminder of the significance and the value and importance of a loving, supportive, caring, even honey, when they doling out trauma on you, it's still, I wouldn't trade it for anything, right? Because that there is a sincerity and a genuineness in our prosperity. And I don't mean financial, I mean in being happy, healthy, and whole human beings. And everybody doesn't have that. And so
Mhm.
that happiness is at home, being around people who love you. Like I said, even if hey, we make mistakes and loving each other all the time, but we know that there's a care and an effort that is there. It's priceless. And those moments, I really think about my friends who lost parents at a young age, and I'm like, wow, like, how did they navigate? How did they learn how to navigate? And obviously they had people who stepped in and different surrogates and what have you. But I am so very grateful that we have our father and our mother still with us on this side of heaven, that we can continue to learn these lessons, that we can continue to laugh, and that we can continue to love each other. So
Yes.
that's it for me. And we want to thank you all for tuning in tonight to Hey Sister. We hope that if you're watching this in the replay, you'll drop some of the lessons that you learned from your father. And we want to thank you for being with us tonight. So with that, we're signing off.
See ya.